did do that, where the Republican Party's overarching policy positions were always genuinely anti-social spending, Donald Trump kind of cast that aside and said, I mean, he gave the stimmy checks during COVID, and he even ran on and still runs on not touching Social Security. Why? Because the entire country is like, the fuck do you mean Social Security? If you cut Social Security, that's insane. All the voters are old. They're going to lose their minds. So the Republican Party was pulled on Social Security at least in the top of the ticket. The Democratic Party, and Megaphonics is right on this, focusing on Project 2025, forced the Trump campaign to cut Project 2025. The Democratic Party actively advocating against what the Republican Party has done on the issue of abortion has caused at least some of the Republicans at the top of the ticket to try to moderate their stances on abortion. This is because right-wing reactionaries are reactionaries. That's it. They react. So you have to give them something to react to. If you don't give them something to react to, and you let them fucking ride on their narrative that is uncontested, like on the issue of immigration, then they will go further and further right until they're here. And when 2028 comes around and the Democrats have now gotten here, they will be the ones advocating for mass deportations. The Dems will move here. That's where the Republicans are right now on 2028, where they are the ones who are advocating for mass deportations, and the Republicans are the ones who are advocating for mass murder. Okay? So one of my active criticisms on this issue has always been that the Democrats don't launch a strong enough opposition to the Republican messaging on this front. And that is how they allow the Republican Party to push the conversation on things that are pivotal, things that are very important, like immigration, to become completely captured by the right. They capitulate to right-wing framing on immigration. And it's not just the Democratic Party that does this. Liberals across the board in the Western world do this all the time. Labor Party did it as well. You could say the same thing in the other direction too. The Republican platform will need to change if they lose the Dems every time. Yes, that is correct. That's why I like fighters like Waltz or even Bashar to a certain degree. Uncompromising Dems that are objectively popular in their states as governors, who have consistently advocated for better leftist economic policies, are popular for that reason, because people do believe in them. Why does the Democratic Party work against itself? 2024 isn't different from 2020 or 2016. We know how the Republicans operate, and that hasn't changed. As much as they may dislike it, the Republicans are unified as a party and no, they're not unified as a party. You're wrong. And consistently campaign, whereas the Democrats are divided and forget that campaign is necessary, yet act surprised when they're losing every year. And this isn't just a 2020 thing. It's happening in local elections too. The Republicans are not exactly unified either. That's why Joe Biden was able to actively campaign for the mythical moderate and independent voters that are living in the suburbs and whatnot. Because Donald Trump is so gross and so weird in the way that he advocates for crazy shit that he was repulsive to a lot of people living in the suburbs. I do love personally that the Republicans, who have been getting yelled at for being weird and have not been doing a very good job of like dealing with that reality, have decided to double, triple, quadruple down on the weird shit and have just been balls to the wall. Like I love that like the media cycle was going to change when Donald Trump went and talked to the National Association of Black Journalists, and the first talking point that came out of it was Kamala Harris might be a DEI pick. Also, she's an Indian woman and not black. She's switching races to be black. Real cool stuff. Thank you, guys. No, you're doing a great job, man.
Good morning. The comments were part of a tense Q&A in Chicago at the National Association of Black Journalists, a conference. Former President Trump courted black voters and courted controversy as he brought questions of race to the fore of this campaign.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
In a crowd full of black journalists, former President Donald Trump clashed with reporters as he questioned his rival's racial identity.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black? She was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too.
Hasan was Turkish all the way, then suddenly turned white. ironic you say that because that's how all of my racist haters say that shit. Hasan was Turkish when it suits him, but he's white when it suits him when he wants to be racist against white people. Also, he's Muslim. He's a sand N-word and therefore not real white. Are you kidding me? White, I laugh at that. He is not German. He is not Polish. Those are the real whites. I mean, this is like kind of a weird tweet. Obviously, this is Kamala Harris at Howard, but like, bro, it's a thing that you can visibly see with your eyes. That's why it's so strange that they're running with this narrative. Like, she is a black woman. She is seen as a black woman by both racists and non-racists alike. So the fact that like you would try to do that, like this isn't Bobby biracial, okay? This isn't logic. Like this is a black woman. I'm so confused that they're trying to make it seem like it's like a racial Dolezal situation. Like it's very weird. This is dead ass the Obama birthrightism all over again, just 16 years later is nuts. It's even weirder than that, I think. Like, obviously, that was like gross, weird, racist in general. And it also was demonstrably a failure. In terms of messaging, that was not a successful message at all. Obama won twice and is still seen as like a very popular figure. Oh my God, JD Vance is Indian. We got him. She has always been black. Classic black family photo. Donald Trump posted this, by the way, this family photo earlier today and was like, remember when Kamala Harris was acting like she was an Indian woman? And it's like, bro, she's literally both black and Indian. These two things can happen. Why are these guys acting like this is shocking? It's so strange, man. Like there is no rule in the rule book where you're just like, oh, if you're biracial, you got to pick one. Sorry. Especially in terms of blackness. Like if she was white, if she had white in her, that's a little different, right? If she's half white, then the equation is a little bit different because whiteness, also a social construct, is proximity to power in a white country like the United States of America, right? Like that's why you can't hit her with the Elizabeth Warren style memes because like Elizabeth Warren was a white woman who claimed to be a Native American woman. That's why everybody made fun of her, myself included. But Kamala Harris literally is a black woman, and blackness is the type of trait in an unimaginably white supremacist society. Blackness is the type of trait that you just can't really avoid, unlike the top of the hour ad break, which you can avoid as long as you subscribe. JD Vance's reaction to Trump's comments about Harris's race. What he said, I thought it was hysterical. I think he pointed out the fundamental chameleon-like nature of Kamala Harris. Donald Trump on whether Kamala Harris is a DI hire, as some Republicans have said, she happened to turn black. She was Indian all the way, and all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black woman. Now, JD Vance saying this is extra weird because, as Roger Sullenberger points out, he has mixed race children. His kids are half Indian and half white. So that's extra strange. There's no such thing being biracial. It's just some other race. Black plus white equals Arab. Chinese plus Indian equals Mexican. That's how it works. Kamala Harris is Sentinelese. It's like when you mix these two things, you get a third new thing. It's funny how hard it is for you Americans to understand the cultural inheritance of people when your country is mainly constituted by migrants. It is, but it's also dictated by white of that. These racial dynamics being a hot book course is probably going to be off to normal people who are like, what the f going on? I don't care about this at all.
Earlier in the day, Trump also defended his VP pick, JD Vance, who's faced backlash for his comments on people without children. But Trump did say a running mate doesn't matter much.
Except it previously said, I'm pretty sure he previously had said, a running mate usually doesn't matter, except in this case it does.
Historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win.
That's cool, man. That's a really good way to defend your running mate. That's supposed to give you a nice little bump. Admitting that your running mate sucks weeks after you chose him is so funny.
I want to ask you about the former president's comments yesterday to the National Association of Black Journalists, where he said that Vice President Harris is, quote, all of a sudden black. As a father of 3 biracial children, do those comments...
Oh, my God. Dude, I wish they had this level of smoke for, like, Israel shit, dude. this makes me more mad. Seeing them actually cook politicians like this on like domestic stuff where they look like assholes, especially when they hate them. And yeah, the media does hate Donald Trump. Let's be real. I wish they would do this for like Israel related shit. Could you imagine doing like real contentious adversarial journalism? This makes me so upset.
Let's give you pause at all.
They don't give me
And then
pause at
we're
all.
going to attack
He
this
said
word. Okay,
is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake accent. She is saying to everybody, and she prints to somebody different.
There's nothing than this guy calling a chameleon. Like, dude, you're the fakest out there. You've in new ways of being white people. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. Like, you invented a way to be racist to white people, but like specifically from Appalachia. It's crazy. You called Trump Hitler, dog, like 3 years ago. You're a tech bro, a hedge fund guy from Silicon Valley. You're Peter Thiel's blood boy. And now you put on a plaid shirt with the cowboy patterns and you walk the border to be like, oh, I'm such a yokel.
I think it's totally reasonable for the president to call that out, and that's all he did. I mean, look, she's running as a tough-on-crime prosecutor, even though she implemented open border policies. She's saying that she wants to support the police, yet she wanted to defund the police just 3 years ago. It's totally reasonable to call out the fact that she pretends to be somebody different depending on the audience she's talking to.
You used that word chameleon yesterday as well. You're someone who was an unabashed critic of the former president previously. Now you're his running mate. You're someone who have text messages out there now that say, I hate the police. Now yesterday you said, I back the blue. By your own standard, are you a chameleon?
Look, I criticized Donald Trump 10 years ago, and we've talked about it, and I've made a good argument to the American people about why I think he was a great president and why I think he deserves re-election. That's different than going to Georgia 2 days ago and putting on a fake Southern accent when you were raised in Canada. So I think it's totally reasonable to change your mind. Has Kamala Harris stood...
When you were raised in what? Was Kamala raised in Canada? I thought she was from Oakland. Oh, she went to high school in Canada?
Stood for a tough debate with you and explained why she wanted to ban fracking and now she doesn't, or why she wanted to defund the police and now she doesn't, or why she wanted to open the border but now she doesn't. It's reasonable to change your mind. It's not reasonable to run and hide from the media and not answer the American people's questions.
He was also asked yesterday if you were ready to be president on day one. He kind of dodged the question. What do you still have to do as his running mate to prove to him that you are ready to step into that role?
Well, I think Donald Trump was answering a political question, and he was answering it correctly. He said for years that who the vice president is doesn't really matter politically. Most Americans are voting either for Kamala Harris or for Donald Trump. They're not voting for the vice presidential nominee of either party.
Oh my God, he's so cooked. He's like, I'm a loser, but I promise I won't actually have a negative consequence on the ticket. I know I'm a loser. I know my place. I'm sorry. No, I promise that like all of the articles that keep coming out about like every Groyper podcast that I've been on, where I said things like we should assassinate women that don't bear 8 children, or that personally I think that we should do a second circumcision, or whatever kind of weird shit that he's an advocate for. All of those sound bites are actually good. I promise I'm not going to cuck the campaign.
Look, I'm absolutely ready to be president on day one. I've been a businessman. I've been a United States Marine. I've been a senator. I can do the job, but politically, people are voting for Donald Trump primarily.
So why are you out here today then if you aren't necessary to this process?
Well, I didn't say it was necessary.
Oh, bro, this guy is just ripping, bro. Chill. Fresh off his appearance at the RNC, Hulk Hogan continues to court votes with the Republican faithful. Just the history buff, really into World War II.
There's a cross.
So the dude's a math teacher. I don't get it. Guys, you don't get it. You don't understand. He just enjoys history, just the wrong side of history. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he was a scout sniper, actually. He just likes the design. He didn't know what it was. It happens to look like it as well, on top of a f***ing SS tattoo. Oh, God, here's another charisma stuff.
And I think you have vapid San Francisco Democrat getting the ticket, and now put in this guy who's basically an Illinois-style, very leftist Democrat. Minnesota has the most liberal record of any.
Expect Ron to hit the Groyper post
Is that what the
immediately.
American people want? The San Francisco experience where homeless are defecating in public on the sidewalks, the Minnesota experience where cities are burning down, and Governor Walz was derelict in his duties to back and allow those cities to burn. Kamala Harris was egging it on, and she even raised money to, yes, a Harris Waltz ticket is Make America Burn. But I watched his speech, Sean, and this guy's a shyster. I mean, he's saying these things. He claims, oh, you know, leave your neighbors alone. It's none of your business. This is the guy that set up a line during COVID for neighbors to, if somebody was violating his draconian codes. He claims people should be whatever healthcare decision want, yet he has mandated experimental COVID-19 jab. And then he says Ricans are weird. This is the governor who put tampons in the boys' bathroom throughout Minnesota.
He's hitting all the lines. Dude, terrible instincts. Terrible instincts. He saw this on Twitter. He's repeating everything he saw on Twitter. This is why you lost.
Burn again.
This is why you were a non-starter. You saw everything on Twitter and you're repeating it on Sean Hannity. You're so bad at politics. Oh my God. You're so bad at politics. How are you so bad? Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz, on at least 5 occasions as governor of Minnesota, has hosted a Muslim cleric who celebrated Hamas' October 7 attack last year on Israel and promoted a film popular among neo-Nazis that glorifies Adolf